Hello, greetings to you all and welcome back to my YouTube channel. You know, we all have problems throughout our life. Some of us would say we have little problems cropping up every day. But there is a tremendous potential to turn those problems into little gemstones, to turn them around and to be a learning curve for us, or to teach us something, to give us some strength in some area. So that's what I'd like to talk briefly about today in this video. I know that I have touched on this topic in different ways before, but there is always a way to look at things in a fresh, new light. And so that's what I'm going to talk about today. So what lessons or what problem-solving skills can we glean from these situations that cross our path that can be mildly problematic, or they can be almost catastrophic? And how we deal with them really can be a tremendous challenge depending on what the problem actually is. So let's look at this, turning this problem into our potential teaching tool to sort of alleviate all that distress and dilemma that this problem is coming loaded with, so to speak. And we all know that our experience will tell us that nothing's ever as bad as it actually seems when the impact of the problem, once you absorbed it and teased it out a little bit and reviewed it and analysed it, problem solved, whatever, it's not near as bad as you thought it was going to be. It can be difficult, but that initial catastrophic, overwhelming feeling of despair will pass fairly soon once you start to look at the problem as a situation you're going to learn from, and as you learn from it, you're going to solve this problem. So let's have a look at this. These bothersome predicaments that we are put into and this anxiety that comes along with it, once we recognize that it might be overshadowing our ability to solve the problem as such, we need to do the usual thing. You know, when people say step back, take a deep breath, and we think, oh yes, it's easy to say that, well, you know what, there is tremendous wisdom in that. And we do need to, whether it be literally stepping back or emotionally stepping back, and having a look at the widescreen vision, not just the eye of the storm, so to speak. And taking a couple of deep breaths before we do anything, be it a sporting activity or a speech we're going to make or something like that, is very, very good practice. So they're the basic things. Mothers taught us those things. Teachers reinforced us. But we always seem to have a knack of allowing the problem to consume us rather than to be sitting opposite us and I'm going to negotiate with this problem. I'm going to sort this out. And so we start that process depending on the problem as to how we go through and begin that process of peeling the layers off it like an onion. The tears come when we peel an onion sometimes. So there's all sorts of situations that we will come across through dealing with this problem. But if you don't deal with it, it gets bigger, it impacts you more, and to the point where we actually blow it out of all proportion. It consumes us. And then we have a hissy fit or whatever, and I'm not dealing with it. Well, you know what? This is a learning opportunity, and you have to deal with this and walk your way through it. And here is some advice that I've used over the years. A lot of it's been passed on to me. I didn't invent it, but I can tell you the benefit of my years, and I'll be 73 this year, has taught me that this is a fail-safe mechanism. I used it in my nursing career all my life. I used the same formula throughout life, and I can tell you it is the best way I have ever discovered about dealing with difficult situations, problems, whatever, something unpleasant, whatever it is you want to name it, that's crossed your path, and you have to actually deal with it. Sweeping it away, denying it, all that sort of thing is not going to help you deal with this problem. It's going to magnify it. So these problems and the enormous potential they have to benefit us can't be overlooked. You know, everything comes from Hashem. All things come through Hashem. So that's the first lesson. This too will be okay. I know this is for my benefit. I can deal with this. I take a deep breath. I analyse it, put it out in front of me, and step by step I'm going to go through this. And so we turn the problem now completely into a new direction. So what we've got is a little sidetrack on that journey of life. It's a little slight detour. You know, you travel on the road sometimes and there's a bit of a problem and there's some roadworks going. You might have to pull up for a while and wait to get the go sign, or you may be directed to detour around that and come around the other side to bypass it without plunging into it. So look at life's examples in a way that we can put them to practical use in these problems that we have or situations that develop. So we're going to take that new direction. We're going to go on a learning curve now. We're going on a detour around that to the side of it to look at it and then analyse how we're going to get around it. And that's all part of life's journey. I keep saying that. So when you are going now in the right frame of mind, I have to face this situation or this problem. How am I going to deal with it? Well, there's some words you need to know. First of all, who, what, when, where, and why. Now, don't panic. I'll go back over that. So first of all, who does this problem affect? Who's affected by this dilemma or this problem? Who's affected? Who does it involve? Does it involve me? It might not. It might involve your children or something like that. But this is a formula that I've used and I find very helpful, and I think most people probably have a similar pattern. But it's good to reinforce and revisit these procedures from time to time. So who's this affecting? Who is it involving? What is the effect or the potential problem here, or the potential learning here? Is what have I to learn? Have I got to master some new tactics? Do I have to look at something differently, in a different light? Do I have to analyse it differently? So, what is the effect or the problem? And the learning potential here. What is actually, get very clinical, what's actually the problem? Let me tease this apart and write it down. What is the problem? What's the main part of it? What's the auxiliary part of it? What is the outlying climate or scenery like about this problem? Then you go on and you say, when did it begin? There's a time frame. You have to establish some sort of a time frame. So when did this begin? And it might have just happened. It could be, so it's imminent now. Or it could have started brewing maybe 3 weeks ago, and now it's become the problem. So what's the history of this problem in terms of time and festering. Let's call it like festering, like a boil. So let's look at this. And you've got to think of it a bit like a boil. So it took time to build up. But I may have only found out about it now, but the problem could have been festering prior to my knowledge of the problem. So analyse the history there. So the time frames. Then where does this festering, this problem, come from? Where does it stem from? Now, does it involve you directly? Is it a home-based thing? Is it a work-based thing? Is it financial? Is it health? There's so many other things, and you can have your own list of where it's coming from. So identify its origin. You've got to identify the origin. Where did it come from? And then when you've done that step, you then come to the point where you say, well, why? Why am I involved? Now, that problem may be affecting not you personally, but it could be affecting someone that works with you in the workplace, or someone else in your family, like a spouse or one of your children. So it might not necessarily be you personally, but it's certainly affecting you by way of your relationship to the person or to the problem, so to speak. So why, am I involved? Why am I involved? And how does this involve me in terms of my ability to modify or reduce or eliminate this problem? So you've got to be truthful. Is this a problem now? Now that you've gone through this analysis process, is this still remaining the serious problem that you first thought it to be? Or has it already, now that you've got those steps, has it already begun to break down in your mind, that you've already got some little ideas rolling around in your head? It doesn't take long. It doesn't take 24 hours to work this out. The quicker you deal with the problem, honestly, and in an objective manner, then the better off the problem will resolve. It will be fair and equitable, and there will be minimum distress to people, or a single person if it's only involving one person, if it's only involving you, for instance. So this is how I always solved problems. In the workplace, in home, in the family, I'm a very practical individual. I like to have step 1, step 2, step 3. It's like sewing a dress. First of all, you've got to pick the pattern you want, then the suitable fabric, and then so on. So this is how I deal with things. And you can read lots of books about problem solving in this situation or that situation. But you know what? There is a plain and simple plan that I have used, and I find it very helpful for me. It's simple. It doesn't get too complicated. Otherwise, all you're doing is complicating the existing problem with too much what ifs and therefores. So you've got to learn to be clinical, like diagnosing something. Let's diagnose this problem. Now, it has potential to be resolved swiftly and effectively, or it has potential to fester into an ugly carbuncle or boil. There's all sorts of things going on. So take my advice, simplify the problem into these steps. And also you say, well, why am I involved? That's one of the key things. Do I need to be involved in this? Certainly, probably you do, because it's a problem that's come to your attention. But to what degree are you going to be involved? Are you involved very directly and overseeing the whole thing, like as if it's a problem directly affecting you? Or is it something that you sort of adjudicating over and, how shall I say, supervising, as in, say, the workforce? So therefore, your approaches will be slightly different, but the formula is still the same. And just to refresh your memory, I will say again, it's that who, what, when, where, and why. Who, what, when, where, and why. And look at those things and be truthful. How you analyse it truthfully. And particularly if you're involved in it, and also if you're not, if you're adjudicating on behalf of some situation, like in the workforce, then you can't go on feelings. You have to say, show me the evidence, dates and times, who was present, who saw this situation, or how did this develop? What caused it? When did you notice this problem was developing? So you can apply those same steps to your own household and your own self as well. We can lie to ourselves a bit and think, oh, I was hoping this wouldn't fester. Now I'm going to have to deal with it. I should have nipped it in the bud in the beginning. So it's a learning curve, isn't it? So it's like that broken thread in the hem of something, and you think, oh, I should restitch that. Oh, it'll be right. Next thing you know, the whole hem's down because of one little broken stitch. Same thing happens with problem solving. The whole, how shall I say, the whole institution can, fall apart because of a slip up somewhere that has been let go, in the hope that I can ignore it and it will go away. And what happens is things unravel and you've got a large problem. You've got a situation on your hand that involves many people. I hope this advice is helpful. There are many other people out there giving good advice about problem solving, but I want you to look at this as a potential to learn from, because once you've the prize at the end of all this is when you have sex as successfully as possible. There's sometimes compromises, but you've successfully solved the problem to the best of your honest ability and knowledge. Then you can step back and say, okay, I'm happy with how I handle that. The outcome is acceptable, etc. And therefore, when you come upon a problem again later on, be a different place, different people, you've got that knowledge of how you dealt with it behind you, the previous problem. You've got that living experience is still with you. So you know how you process that situation, and you're going to follow the same positive steps in this new situation. So solving a problem, it will not go away by you ignoring it. You do have to take steps to solve the problem, and this, I hope, is some small help. Don't have pages of steps, just have the who, what, when, where, and why. They're the things you really want to tease out very early in the piece. In the meantime, please take care and God bless.